I'm the Reverend Dr. Larry Macon, the president of United Pastors of Mission and also the pastor of the Mount Zion Church here in Oakwood Village, right outside of Cleveland. And we have today our special episode where we examine pressing issues facing our communities today, and especially in the greater Cleveland area. We're here to talk about the impact of executive orders on African American, Hispanics, and Haitians in America. In this episode, we'll explore how these policies shape lives, shape opportunities, and shape the future in our diverse society, and especially here again in the greater Cleveland community. So we're glad that you're here. We hope that you will join us as we engage with our insightful panel. We have to my immediate right, Bishop Omar Medina, who represents the Hispanic community, especially on the west side, and he's going to talk about the effects of these orders that are having on the Hispanic community. We also have the Reverend Dr. C.J. Matthew, who is one of my closest friends. I've known him since Jesus was around, and he's going to help us understand how they affect our African American community. And we also have here Pastor Max. Pastor Max is here as our guest, and he's going to talk about the Haitian community, and also he pastors one of the most wonderful churches in Cleveland, a Hispanic community. So together we'll unpack the challenges and opportunities these communities face and hear firsthand accounts of resilience and hope. Stay with us as we navigate these turbulent waters and with critical conversation and seek solutions for a brighter future here in this city. Before we do that, we're going to have the Reverend Dr. Otis Moss III, who is the pastor of the Trinity United Church of Christ in the Chicago area, to give us a kind of overture or even give us the context of these executive orders and what they mean to these communities and to America at large. So listen and watch.
They call it the Big Beautiful Bill, but it has been a big betrayal to basic humanity. Let us go into detail of what this bill actually does. This so-called Big Beautiful Bill will guarantee that children with health insurance, the CHIP program, that many of them will lose their insurance. This bill will also cut those who have home community basic services, for those who receive assistance for people who have everything from dementia and those who are differently abled. That support will be cut. There's a large percentage of families who will lose the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, better known as SNAP. The student loan program, there will be a higher repay for those who have student loans, and it will be more difficult for people to get student loans in reference to college. Medicaid paperwork requirement will cause people to lose coverage as the paperwork will increase. And hear this, there are currently 2,086 rural hospitals receiving $12.2 billion a year in net revenue from Medicaid. As a result of those cuts, some of those hospitals will have to close. This bill will defund Planned Parenthood clinics. Planned Parenthood, 85% of the work Planned Parenthood does is with contraceptives and simply offering counseling for people who have STDs. This bill targets clean energy, specifically those who want to do solar and wind, where all of those tax breaks will be removed. Medicare benefits will be cut, and those benefits will end for people with lawful immigration status. In this bill, food assistance for children aging out of foster care, veterans, and homeless will be cut. In this bill, there are more tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. $175 billion will be going to immigration, $50 billion to build a border wall, $45 billion to create more spaces to detain undocumented people. This bill, I would say, is a big betrayal to basic human decency. This bill, pushed through very quickly, is roughly about 1,100 pages.
Yes.
I have been trying to read through the bill, and I'm only on chapter 1. It is extraordinary that we are now in a place where, as a result of this bill, we are shifting the debt to our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren will have to pay for what has been done this past weekend. The final thing is, I say this specifically to those within the faith community that claim to be servant leaders or leaders of faith communities. Jesus is very clear. What we do to the least of these,
Yes.
we do also to him. We cannot support a policy that harms the homeless,
Right.
that harms seniors, that harms those in foster care, that cuts SNAP benefits for children. We cannot support anything that harms the most vulnerable in our society. Stop calling yourself a Christian if you don't want to follow Christ. There is my 5 minutes. Peace.
Amen.
They call it the big, beautiful.
Thank you so much, and again, thank you for joining us here on Faith and Flow with the United Pastors and various churches here in the greater Cleveland community. We're going to begin by hearing Dr. C.J. Matthew, who has been in the community for so many years, who is a not only pastor but a servant, but also he has done so much activism here in the city. And so we're going to ask him to respond to those words of Dr. Moss and share with us what he believes is happening in our community, and to give us some encouragement of hope also. Dr. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Dr. Macon, and to my brothers and to our audience, bless you today. I am Dr. C.J. Matthews the first, and I serve as a part of the pastoral team of Mount Sinai Friendship United and our connected platforms. And I'm also the executive director of United Pastors of Mission, and I'm excited to be here, especially after hearing the words of Dr. Otis Bakari Moss III and his challenge to Christians. He didn't challenge just the black church or the white church. He challenged Christians. And unfortunately, we're living in a time when Christianity has been used to manipulate so many things. And we know the century and the age-old manipulation that has occurred. But right now, it's being utilized to manipulate our nation and our country in a way that is unprecedented. And I believe that it is a statement to Christianity, but I would like to speak specifically to pastors and leaders of houses of worship, and more specifically in communities where these things will have the most effect. We can try to tackle these things alone and by ourselves, and maybe some can. Or we can begin to coalesce and form new coalitions to support our organizations that have boots on the ground, as well as to begin to build these, to strengthen these coalitions and this coalescing opportunity to say that with God all things are possible. So today we believe that the church has to be the leader in creating opportunities to deal with the trauma in our community, simply because I believe a lot of the violence is born out of trauma. We've seen the results that when power marries greed, it births hatred, it births oppression, it births neglect, it births things that really, really, really are anti-Christ. And so we see the spirit of Antichrist rising. So I believe the church is the only vanguard, the only upfront that God has and made available to this generation and this season. So we have to listen well. Things we would not entertain in the past, we have to listen well. Our children are not angry with us. They don't not love God, but we have to listen well and hear them. In building these coalitions, we've had a head start. And that head start is that we've been forming United Pastors now for almost 4 decades. We've been working with government. We've been working with philanthropy. We've been working with the major sports teams in our community and organizations and hospitals, and as well as our historic denominational groups. But today is time for this season's iteration of that work. I believe we started that through Healing Communities. We are one community, Koinonia, of which United Pastors is a leader, and all of our historic organizations are leaders. And I believe today that we have the ability to equip churches to deal with homelessness, to deal with housing, to deal with education, to deal with the trauma that is afflicting our community. But the community can't just stand outside the church and throw stones based upon what's wrong with us or your perceptions of what's wrong with us. Come in and join us and let us make that difference together. We all have work to do, changes we can make, and things we can think of in a different way. Like I said, we had a head start because we have some things in place. But at the end of the day, last month we gave out, just our church, 6,900 meals. That's doubled from the month before. And we got a notice yesterday that one of our suppliers is running out of food because of these cuts. Someone came through our church yesterday and said, because they're cutting SNAP, because they're cutting Medicaid, the violence this summer is going to increase. Well, if we're building cages, if we're building walls, if we're building more infrastructure to hate and harm, then where is the relief? I believe that God will bring that relief through the Church of the Living God when we understand His will and not our will.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Matthew, and we'll have some more questions to ask you. That was an awesome overview of what's going on and how the church can affect the community, and the community can impact the church as well. We have here our good friend, Bishop Omar Medina, who is representing us from the Hispanic community, and so we're going to hear from Bishop Medina even now. Bishop?
Good morning, everyone. I was challenged. I was impressed by the fact that our colleagues started saying that this challenge goes out to the church. Yeah. And the church has a moral and spiritual responsibility to continue to be the church, regardless of what challenges we're facing as a society, regardless of who is running the government, who's in power. The church has to remain being a church, and we must have our identity clear as a church. And our responsibility as a church is to serve everyone. It is to continue to be a beacon of hope. It is to continue to show the love of Christ to everyone, regardless of who they are, regardless of where they come from. The day that the church begins to ask people, where do you come from? What's your status? What's your party affiliation? The day that we start asking people questions, who they are and where they come from, and determining if we're going to serve them or not, we stop being a church and we become just another group. Right. So the church must continue to serve. The church must also call out those things that are evil, that we must continue to call out injustices. We cannot be like the three monkeys, you know, that one is covering their eyes, one is covering their ears, one is covering the mouth. We see too many in the churches today, just like those three monkeys. They're covering their eyes. They refuse to see what's going on. They don't want to see the reality in which we're living. Many of them are covering their ears. They don't want to hear. They don't want to be challenged. Some of them are afraid. They have their mouths covered because they're afraid to speak out. Well, the Bible says that God has given us a spirit of what? Of courage, of sound mind, not of fear. So we must continue to be that prophetic voice. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on within our Latino community and what I see as maybe we can implement. As you know, there's been a big push to deport those that are undocumented. They began by telling us that they were only going to deport those with a criminal history. But the facts are that if you take a look of who's being arrested and who's being deported, there's only a small fraction of those individuals with a criminal history. Most of them are people that have lived here for decades with no criminal history. And let me also tell you that many of them were actually legal here because they were given asylum by our previous administration. They were here legally. They were going to the courts in the process of becoming citizens, and from one day to the next, their legal statuses were revoked, making them undocumented. And being undocumented is a civil infraction. It's not a criminal infraction, it's a civil infraction. But I want you to know that here in the state of Ohio, just to make it local, here in the state of Ohio, there are currently some bills that were introduced, and they're on the House floor now, trying to get passed. It's House Bill 281, House Bill 26, House Bill 172, House Bill 246, and House Bill 26. And what those House bills will do is that it will make anyone who's undocumented in the state of Ohio automatically a criminal. It would be a felony offense to be undocumented.
Thank you, Bishop. We'll get more into that in a few moments. We have Pastor Max. Pastor Max, you know, the Haitians came here to the United States, and there's about 500,000 Haitians in America, and that a great number of them had moved into the Dayton, Springfield, Ohio area. Many of them had came because of the oppression that is going on in Haiti, and so, you know, the law said that you can leave a country if, in fact, there's those kinds of oppressions going on in your nation, and we can become a refuge for you. Well, they got temporary approval to come here, and I believe it was either this year, next year, that approval would need to be reapproved, if you will, and that the executive order said, no, you've got to go back to Haiti now. And the state of Ohio, the governor has said, we need the Haitians here because the Haitians are providing work and employment, et cetera, for employees in these particular cities. And in Haiti now, there's all kinds of uprisings there. People are sleeping outdoors. There's not clothes, there's not food, there's not water. And these are not just 5 or 10 people. These are about 1,000 on the island of Haiti. So if these Haitians have to go back, in your remarks, what do you think that they should do if they have to go back versus going back and not impacting what is happening on the island of Haiti? And I know that you also represent the Hispanic community, so why don't you share with us your thoughts on it?
Bishop, as my brothers were talking to you, I just checked my phone because my father and two brothers of mine just landed in Brazil this morning. We had to spend a lot of money for a charter flight to get them out of Haiti, doing scale in Ecuador, and this morning they just landed in Brazil for almost 24 hours flight. Because in Haiti, like 2 years ago, the international airport, we only have one, is closed. There's no flight from or to Haiti. Because since they killed the president in July 7th, 2021, we have a country with no executive power, no legislation power, no judiciary power. It's a chaos, you know. And last year, we have a house in the capital of Haiti. Gang members shows up at our doors and they kick my father out of the house with a gun in his head. My father has to give them the house, and yesterday I saw my house published in Haiti and somebody's selling it. You know, I have the papers, but they are selling it. And my father has to live in refugees places for almost a year. And when we were talking about sending Haitian back to Haiti, to where? You're sending them back to literally hell. Because the administration just asked for all the diplomats working in Haiti to leave Haiti right now. So you're taking out the diplomats out from Haiti and you want to send Haitian back to Haiti. But what kind of Haitian? Those people didn't come to USA illegally. They were in Haiti, and somebody gives them a paper, a advance parole, and told them, come to USA, we're gonna protect you, we're gonna give you a work permit, and so you can provide for family in Haiti, sending money or food or anything. And now you're telling me that I'm illegal.
Right.
You invite me here.
Right.
I came on a promise.
Right.
And now it's not fair, no? We need to have a fairly conversations. We need to have a fairly approachment. I understand we cannot bring 10,000 Haitian in USA, but we're not talking about 10 million. We're not talking about 10 millions because we're 10 million in the land. We're talking about people. Then you invite in this country. They came legally, and now you're calling them undocumented people. So Haiti is facing a lot of challenge right now. I don't know if that can help the country in any capacity, because we don't have army forces, we don't have a fractional police forces, we don't have a Congress, we don't have a national palace, we don't have nothing.
Right.
It's a chaos.
Right.
I don't know if in modern history we ever see something like that, but as a student, I think it's the first time in modern history that you have a land with 10 million people with no government, with no laws, and nobody's talking about it. But in the past 5 years, I've lost a lot of friends, cousins, uncles. You know, the last cousin that I lost just go out for food, and somebody killed him just for fun. And you can go to justice, you can go to the police. A pastor in my community, the same week that my father left his house, tried to resist. You know, they cut his head and give the family the body with no head. This is what pushed my father to leave the house. If they did it to him, he's a man working in the community, really known in the community, really loved in the community, you know, a man of God, a man of principle. If they did that to him, so my father has to leave the house. Right now, they are living in Brazil. I'm trying to make some calls so somebody can pick them up and drop them to a church. Maybe they can help them there. But this is what it is in Haiti, and I don't understand the process of the deportation people in Haiti right now.
Yeah, and so Pastor Max, and this is what this nation wants to send the Haitians back to. Mm-hmm. This kind of terrorism that is happening on the island. And so, Dr. Matthew, in the case of the people of the oppressed, which would be right now for our conversation, which would be African Americans, Hispanics, and Haitian, what does our history tell us as black folk? We have been through this time and time again, being castrated, being beheaded, women pregnant women having their babies cut out of them, and so many other kind of terrorism that has happened to us here in this nation. How did we come through all of that? And then we'll go back into the specific areas, Dr. Matthew.
I think that there's a historical narrative that is necessary and needed. But from that narrative, we see a resilient people, intelligent people, and a creative people because of the institutions that we built coming forward. And then again, integrating and assimilating allow those institutions to become less necessary for some people. And our communities, through outward migration and people's right to live where they want to live, I believe there's a level of intentionality in creating certain communities through redlining, gerrymandering for policy, and all of those things. All of those things at some point show up together. And when with the kind of vitriol that is currently being dealt out from our government, our Supreme Court, and our legislatures where they have dominant power, once again is calling for the ethos of the African people who are here, or the descendants of African people, to once again rise up and be resilient, be wise, be creative, and build institutions. We can't afford to depend just on government. We had 80 young people in our church who came forward for recognition, graduation, and awards a few weeks ago. So many of them have positioned themselves for master's degrees, law degrees, medical degrees. Those are the things that are being attacked. Why? Because over the last century or so, look at where we are. We are not a desolate people. We are not an uninformed people. We are not a people without resources and wealth and intelligence. And so from the beginning, if we look at the historical narrative and the way in which we were brought into this country, not given access to literacy, not given access to property and building wealth, all of those things, again, are on the rise. Pockets of people in significant numbers who depend upon the systems that were put in place to affect their potential destiny, or at least allow them to survive in the process, are now gone. Right. In a moment and a twinkling of an eye. And so we've always had to, and I'll be quiet, we've never had the privilege that white people have. We've always had to fight for survival and liberation simultaneously. That would be a lesson I would give to my Latino, Hispanic brothers and sisters, my Haitian, and any other ethnic group who is under oppression and siege right now is we know how to survive, and we work to survive. But if you don't fight against this beast for liberation, they will take your survival tools from you. All right, and so I believe in empowerment models, which I'll share in a moment, but I want to give my brothers an opportunity to say something also. But our history gives us a blueprint of how we succeeded, but it doesn't give us a blueprint only without the current intelligence, current creativity, and current strengths of who we are today. We cannot minimize that today we are a resilient people, and that resilience will allow us to figure this out if we can build the institutions we need, if the church can find its center in Christ and community, and I'll stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Matthew. Bishop Medina, you know, you have folk who are undocumented and documented who are afraid right now to say anything. They don't want to coalesce. They don't want to come out in public places. They're working. They don't want to look at anyone, even physically. They turn their eyes, their head, don't look at Christians, church, or anything. And so they're not standing up and saying anything. And as Dr. Matthew said, in the African American community, we have a history of knowing how to resist and to speak up, even at the expense of our own lives for the greater good of our people. And so what would you say to those folk who are watching right now? What should they do in the midst of fear? Now, you've given us a Christian theological, scriptural foundation. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but the spirit of power and of love and of a sound mind, and to be courageous. But I think you need to talk right now to your family. Your family is sitting out there right now, and they are afraid, and they're not going to speak up. They're not going to gather together. They are afraid that the ICE is going to show up with masks and take them down to the, unfortunately, the alligator Alcatraz in Florida. What would you say to them right now, looking at them right now?
Well, listen, I know the fear and the uncertainty that we're all living in these times. But I can tell you this for a fact. Staying quiet is not a solution. Staying quiet is just accepting things as they are, saying there's nothing that can be done. We're totally powerless, and we just have to, accept whatever comes our way. We must not fall in that trap of total hopelessness. The last thing we need to do is to stay quiet. We need to raise our voices. We need to become organized. The church is all about building communities and building unity. If there is a time in our history where we need to come together as one, number one, we need to come together as one as Latinos, because there's a lot of division and friction even among the different Latino communities. And our Puerto Rican brothers and sisters, which I am a part of, many of them have said, well, this doesn't affect me because I am a U.S. citizen, so I don't have to get involved. Here's the thing. They do not know the difference. They cannot tell a Puerto Rican from a Cuban, from a Dominican. They don't care. If you are Latino and we are being racially profiled, they don't care if you are Puerto Rican or not. So you may think it's not affecting you now, but believe me, it will affect us. So we need to come together as a community, support each other, speak up, and not only that, but build coalitions. We're always talking about black and brown. This is a moment in history where we need to prove that black and browns are together as one, because we can build together the political clout, the political machinery to make changes.
And I would add that, it's just not black and brown, but it's even whites who are now being oppressed also.
Yes.
And so, we've got the red states, and the red states are going through it just as in the case of the blue states, maybe a little differently. But this is not a black or brown issue, or black or brown or white issue.
Yes.
These are human issues.
Absolutely.
And when in the Old Testament, when God was speaking to the prophets about the poor and about the oppressed and about widows and children and nations that were being slaughtered, he wasn't talking about color. He wasn't really talking about nation. He was talking about his family, or in case, human beings. And so we need to also consider the broader spectrum of this whole discussion. It was one theologian that said, during the Hitler regime, they came for the Jews, and I was not a Jew, and they came for another group of people. I was not one of them, and so I said nothing. I remained silent, but then I discovered they came for me, and there was nobody to speak up for me because they were all gone. Nuller, I believe, he put that together. But the point is that these are times when we cannot remain silent. And I know it's fearful, it's a fearful kind of a thing, but we've got to stand up and come together and do something. Now, Dr. Matthew?
I think that, we've got to take our beliefs and our rhetoric and create action. That's what's missing to the common person. They want to see the action. We know our rhetoric, we know our beliefs, we know our themes, but where's the action? When we talk about coalitions, we're not talking about black and brown coalitions. We're talking about coalitions of conscience. That's why Dr. Bakari Moss III appealed to Christians. If you say you are a Christian, if you believe you are a Christian, how can you sit back and watch families put in cages, deported? We have a criminal justice system for criminals. And if people are criminals, they should go through that system. But the moment that due process is removed and Supreme Court affirms the removal of due process and begins to interpret the Constitution in a way, we got to remember that the Constitution was never written to be inclusive. All right. And so now we're back to a point where exclusion is the order of the day. And so these coalitions of conscience can only be formed by God. He has to speak to the heart of those people who are in denial, who are doing, as you use metaphorically, the three monkeys. We are not blind, they see. We are not deaf, they hear. But we are silent, not just in words. We are silent in our prayers, we're silent in our worship, and we're silent in our action. That's why all of these unity rallies and prayer meetings are not of God. They're not of God because they're not addressing anything that God is concerned about. So coalitions of conscience and the activity, not just our beliefs, not just our rhetoric, but manifest actions of the power of God moving forward against the spirit of Antichrist, not people, but against the spirit of Antichrist. And I believe that in our season of life, we will see the dismantling of these efforts.
Well, on that note, I want to thank all of you for joining us. I want to thank Bishop Omar Medina, and I know you're out there saying, wow, they really said something today. Medina, you spoke to your community, and we're so grateful for Dr. C.J. Matthew, who always has insight and even oversight over what is going on in our country. So he just doesn't give us insight, he gives us oversight. He has a community, a healing community that is doing marvelous works and providing for the community, and all the churches have come together on clothing, food, jobs, and other kinds of services that you need in the community. You can call Mount Sinai Friendship Church to get more information about that. And Pastor Max, I'm so glad to meet you, and our prayers are certainly going to be with you and your family and your father.
Thank you. Praying for the church in Haiti, because church in Haiti has passing through a lot right now. Pastors are telling people to come to church with guns so they can gather, because they are kidnapping people from the altar.
Well, you know, what goes around comes around. It's not just an isolated thing in Haiti, but even across America, we're hearing where you know, deacons have to carry guns, and in Kentucky, you know, a guy's going to come in there and shoot up the church members. Somebody he may or may not know, but those deacons had guns in their churches. So we're living in some ages that are really, really different. But we're going to believe what Dr. Matthew said, that God is still sovereign and he's over everything, even though he sees everything and he doesn't come when we want him to come. He's always on time, as my choir sings all the time. He's an on-time God. Yes, he is. We're going to be continuing these Faith and Flow episodes, and we're going to be sharing that with you, the community, because we want you to know pastors are not quiet. They are doing things. Churches are doing things. It may not be all churches, but we are doing things, and as my member used to say, if all of us does something, nobody has to do a lot. God bless you. Thank you for joining us with Faith and Flow with United Pastors in Mission and all of the churches in the greater Cleveland area. Loved you, whatever you do. As Billy Graham used to close his services up with these words, go to church on Sunday. God bless you. Thank you so much.